The film Children of Men and the video game The Last of Us both explore the human condition of sacrifice and morality, with the themes being highly present and impactful within the dystopian worlds, however in different ways. Children of Men, being a post-apocalyptic sci-fi, allowed Cron to explore an imagined future that puts into question current political issues and how society today would morally act if put into the situation where humanity has no future. The human condition of sacrifice and morality is represented through the actions of those in the film. If given the choice, would we base our actions on what is serving to ourselves, or would we sacrifice ourselves for the greater good? One example is shown within the antagonists, the Fishers, a guerrilla group that aim to use Key's baby as a political weapon in an uprising in order to overthrow the government, and in order to achieve this, murder the long-standing leader of the group, who believes in getting Key to the human project. This presents to the audience the deteriorating morality of humanity and the negative implications of sacrificing one in order to get what you want. This attitude of the antagonist is contrasted between the multiple examples of protagonists sacrificing themselves, with the final scene showing that each individual sacrifice led to Key reaching the boat. This is representative in that it reminds audiences that humanity is still capable of selflessness. The moral mentality of the dystopian society is also explored through government control and refugee treatment, to which the government enforces the idea that survivors of the catastrophes in other nations are less than human, segregating and locking them in cages, calling them refugees as a way to provide a negative or outsider view of them. Cron creates a situation where this issue is personally directed onto the audience, again highlighting the severity of refugee treatment as a bus stops at a refugee camp where people are locked in cages, lying upon the ground holding their heads down with guards standing over them aiming guns at their heads, as Q is told to get off the bus. This presents that unless the protagonist is directly affected by the issue, are ignorant to the severity of the refugee situation. This mimics the attitude of today's society that unless an issue directly impacts them, do not care to fix the issue. Children of Men allowed Cron to explore how the human condition of morality and sacrifice would stand in a dystopian world where humanity has no future, presenting this through the actions of the characters. Whilst in The Last of Us highlights the mentality and moral dilemmas of the player themselves, as the player physically has to make the decisions rather than watching how others would react in the situation. The Last of Us is a post-apocalyptic dystopia where, commonly in these forms of dystopian worlds, there is no antagonist and is generally the protagonist attempting to survive in their environment. However, The Last of Us doesn't generally follow that format. The antagonist is out of the people and of the degradation of morality in humanity, as it is described by one of the characters in the game on why he chooses to live in an infected area, saying,
As bad as those things are, at least they're predictable. The normal people that scare me.
This type of dystopia allowed Hungry Dog the chance to explore how the human race might cope and react when placed in a dystopian environment, and explores how that might implicate the natural human conditioning surrounding morality and sacrifice, both through the internal conflict of sacrificing yourself for the greater good, as well as that of the actual player's idea of morality and sacrifice. The game points to having limited technology sources matching that of the early 2000s, however, the game has a 20-year jump after the introduction, leading to the assumption that technology of 2033 is actually that of 2013, including the technology to be error-based, which also indicates limited resources as new materials aren't able to be made. This is physically presented to the audience by the main character Joel, stating,
About ammo.
receiving a response,
Shots count.
This is an important factor when putting into consideration. Not long after this is presented, the characters are walking in an infected environment where a ceiling falls, showing a stranger has been trapped beneath ceiling debris and his mask, the object protecting him from being infected, has broken. He pleads to Joel, the character controlled by the player.
Help me! My mask broke. Don't leave me to turn. Please.
The player then themselves, after being informed of the limited resources, has to decide whether to sacrifice a bullet for the stranger's pleas or to leave the stranger to turn, providing the player with an extra bullet. This allows the game makers to explore the moral decisions of the actual player themselves, and allows for the contrast between the game maker's interpretation to how society would react with how society actually would react. Whether the player's decisions match that of the society in the game, presenting the human condition of the player themselves. After completing the 6-hour journey with the protagonists Joel and Ellie, the player finally discovers that due to Ellie's immunity to the virus means she is the key to an antidote. However, the player, as well as Joel and Ellie, are faced with the internal conflict of whether to sacrifice one for the greater good. After developing a connection to Ellie and the bond that has been created in the once emotionally distant Joel and the emotionally defensive Ellie, Marlene, seen as Ellie's surrogate mother, in this case, is conveyed as the antagonist, as she expresses opinions that oppose the protagonist Joel in his belief that Ellie shouldn't be sacrificed. But really, is Marlene the antagonist? Does choosing the survival of humanity over the death of a significant figure in your life really make you a villain? This presents to the audience the conflict in the conditioned idea of moral and sacrifice that both is conveyed, and an actual difficulty within the player who, after enduring 6 hours of being immersed in their story, feels conflict in what should happen.